Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have special guest, John Lee Dumas. John is the founder and host of the award-winning podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire. With over 100 million listeners of his 3,000 plus episodes, John Lee Dumas has turned Entrepreneurs on Fire into a media empire that generates over 1 million listeners every month and 7 figures of net annual revenue 8 years in a row. His first traditionally published book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success, is available for pre-order now with 5 amazing bonuses at uncommonsuccessbook.com. All right, welcome to the show, John.
Sheila, I am fired up to be here. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to a great conversation.
Yes. And one of the things that I like to start out with is if you have a time in your business or personal life where you hit a tough situation and how you got back on track.
You know, I'll use a personal for me. You know, I was an officer in the U.S. Army for 8 years, and I spent 13 months as a platoon leader in charge of 4 tanks and 16 men. And it was a very, very intense time. It was, you know, war, so to speak. So when I got back, it was pretty intense because I just transitioned to the civilian world. And I absolutely dealt with PTSD. I dealt with depression. I dealt reintegrating back into the quote unquote civilian world. And I struggled for a long time with it. But, you know, by surrounding myself with the right people, other vets that were going through similar things, by, you know, talking to therapists and other professionals, I was able to move forward and enter the next chapter of my life.
Wow, that's incredible. And thank you for your service. So one of the questions that I have is, as an entrepreneur, what is the number one reason you think that entrepreneurs are failing at such a high rate today?
Because, Sheila, they're trying to copy other entrepreneurs that they see that are successful, and they're becoming weak, pale imitations of those entrepreneurs. What everybody needs to realize is that they have a big idea within themselves. They have a zone of fire that they can be living within. You know, you're a special person. You're unique. You're a snowflake. You have something amazing to share with the world. Don't try to copy and imitate and be a pale, weak imitation of somebody else's message. Find your message, do your thing, find your big idea, live in your zone of fire every single day.
Now, why is identifying your big idea not enough sometimes?
Listen, it's just not enough because your big idea is this big, amazing idea, but other people have had that big idea, and that's competition that's entrenched, that's been doing it for a while. You've got to identify a void within that big idea that's not being filled. You've got to discover a niche that is not being utilized. You've got to understand and uncover a real problem within that big idea that's currently not being solved. That's how and where you're actually going to be able to get your initial momentum, your initial traction to actually win.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. I've been an entrepreneur since I was like in my early 20s, starting my first gift store and going on from there. And one of the things I found is there's so many people, experts, proclaimed experts out there. Have you, and how do people deal with that? Like there's so many that aren't really experts. How have people been lied to by these self-proclaimed experts in this online business world now?
Listen, there are some fantastic experts out in this world here. They are sharing amazing, great value with the world. And then there's the so-called experts. And by the way, a red flag for these so-called experts is when they like to share things like the path to success is hidden, or it's secret, or it's complicated. But for $1,997.97, I will give you the key to unlock all your success and your dreams. And you see that everywhere. But the reality is this: I've interviewed 3,000 successful entrepreneurs. I have learned from every single one what it takes to become a success, to find your version of financial freedom and fulfillment. And it's taken me a decade to compile all this knowledge, but I can tell you without a doubt, with 3,000 actual case studies to pull from, the path to success, it's a common one. It is a very common path. There are fundamental principles that entrepreneurs follow to achieve their version of financial freedom and fulfillment. I mean, that's why I didn't write the book, The Complicated Path to I didn't write the secret path or the hidden path. It's the common path to uncommon success. But let's be clear, Sheila, you've worked hard in the past. I have worked really hard in the past. Every entrepreneur that I've interviewed has worked very hard. It is not an easy road to uncommon success. It's a common path where there are 17 core foundational principles that you can work hard, follow step by step, and achieve to get to financial freedom and fulfillment.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And what is your favorite one of those steps in that roadmap?
It would definitely be chapter 7, step 7, which is creating your content production plan. Again, not only have I interviewed 3,000 of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, but I run the world's largest podcasting paid community. It's called Podcaster's Paradise. We have over 6,000 members. We've been running it for 8 years. I've seen it all. And I can tell you without a doubt, the people who win, which are very few that win at a high level, have a fantastic content production plan. All the other people do something that we call pod fading. They just kind of fade off into the distance. And that's true in podcasting. That's true in YouTube. That's true in social media. That's true in all forms of business.
Right.
If your content production plan is not dialed in and fantastic, you will lose.
And I'd love to hear more about your book launch, maybe some more details about that.
So like I said, this book is the culmination of the 3,000 interviews I've done with the world's most successful entrepreneurs. I boiled down the 17 core foundational principles that we all share as successful entrepreneurs. And I put it in this chronological 17-step roadmap, and I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote. It took me 8 hours of writing, 2 hours per day, 480 writing hours to get to the 71,000 words, the 273 pages that comprise the common path to uncommon success. But it's here, it's done, it's available. And if you want to learn more about the book, you can read the first chapter for free. You can see the amazing 5 bonuses. You can see the endorsements from Seth Godin, Gary Vaynerchuk, Neil Patel, Erica Mandy, Dory Clark, and so much more at uncommonsuccessbook.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I look forward to reading your book, and I hope everyone listening in also does. All right. Thank you again, John, for being on the show. All right.
Adios.
Bye. Hey, so recently I had a funny situation where I had this guy message me, and he kept messaging me. What the heck is this about? He wanted to know this and that. And I knew it was a sales pitch. And he was providing services to help me do certain things that I have no interest doing. And so he was like, you must want this and I can give it to you. And I thought to myself, well, how interesting. How much does somebody assume that what my definition of success is has anything to do with what they envision as success? And I finally had to block him because he kept messaging over and over, trying to sell me his course or his, I don't know what the heck he was trying to sell me, but it was based on his terms. And you know what? That gets pretty old pretty fast. I don't want to live life on somebody else's terms. I'm designing life on my terms. And so that's really important to me. And it has just given me a lot of freedom. If someone is trying to push something on you that's their vision of their success, and it's not something that's your success, don't waste your time. Send them on their way. Their advice isn't even worth a dime if it's not aligned. And that's one thing that I believe is that when you're redesigning your life, when you're reinventing, when you're rebuilding, when you're rebooting, when you're starting over from scratch, it is the best time to design life on your terms, to reevaluate and decide, hey, you know what? These are where I'm at right now. These are my new values, my core values that I've taken with me, and things that I need to adjust. But this is what success looks like. Success sometimes can be so simple. You don't have to take a big vacation to go spend time with your family at the beach or by the pool. You don't have to go spend so much money on gifts when during this holiday season, that gift of time, just playing in the park, playing ball with your kids, or playing with your puppy, something like that could be your version of success for today. And let that be okay, because that's what matters most. Thinking about what matters most to you and living into that truth. Own your truth. My version of success and happiness doesn't have to be yours, and yours doesn't have to be mine. And that's okay. Living your truth, living your pure success. If you're a mom, if you're a parent, if you're a boss, a leader, when you're living in that essence and that truth and sharing from that place, wow, that's going to inspire your children, your employees, your coworkers, your friends to live in their truth. And what a beautiful place that is. Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today we have special guest James McKinney. James has quite a bio to read here. So James has a hard time believing that he's had some failures in brands. So he is the creator and host of the Startup Story podcast, as well as the founder of the newest entrepreneurial subscription, Grindology. Both brands were established and came to reality because of his personal journey following his fourth failed attempt.
Yep.
All right. And so you're going to share more about that when we get started. Welcome to the show, James.
Sheila, this is an absolute joy to join you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And my first question that I always ask my guests is based on this show actually started based on my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. I wrote it right before the pandemic happened, and it's really on point for our time. So if you could share maybe a time in your business or personal life that you hit a tough situation and how you got back on track.
Oh man, I mean the toughest situation would be in 0809 when I literally lost everything. I mean the business collapsed. I had a government contract that fell apart. Was canceled. All capital that I had was gone. It was a vapor, if you will. Had to tell my wife that we were losing everything, including the house. I mean, 0809 was a dark time, and I go into a lot of detail in one of our episodes on the podcast itself. But the recovery period for that was not fast. I had to get a job at corporate America and lick my wounds to kind of recover a bit because we lost everything. Mm-hmm. But when entrepreneurship is part of who you are, when it is in your makeup, you can only stay in the corporate environment for so long. Like there's, you have these constraints where you want to do more than the corporate world. And again, I happened to work for the Disney company at the time and lots of opportunities, but it's still not the same as running your own business. And so, fortunate, I got a chance to again recover during that period, but it wasn't long before I was on to at that point, my third startup into mobile apps.
Wow. Well, that's incredible. So you really started over again. And that is something that's really interesting. I remember I had lost my home to the Ventura fire in 2017, and I was starting over. and I had like 35,000 in cash, and everything else I had put into the home to buy and into everything I had just purchased, and into other non-liquid assets. And my friends told me, some of my friends said, you should just go work at the grocery store. I was like,
yeah.
I used to own stores. What are you talking about? And they were like, this is never going to work. I bought a prefab mobile home, made it into Airbnb, and I was making $6,000 to $10,000 a month within a month. You getting these 2 subscribers? Do people just subscribe for the magazine or marketing on your podcast?
So when we started, and here's again back to for those who are considering entrepreneurship, like just do not ever assume the way you start is the way you're going to continue on. Yes. So when we started Grindology, the business model was a subscription box that has 2 uniquely custom crafted coffees, and a cool mug that you can sit on your desk, and then of course the magazine. Like that was the box. Every quarter you're going to get a box that's going to have some great coffee, a unique mug, and the magazine. And as we shipped the first box, without, I would say, probably 10% said the coffee's really good, the magazine's freaking amazing. 80% said, I only want the magazine, but I'll keep getting the box since that's the only way I can get it. And I started thinking to myself, like, man, like everyone loves this magazine. Why am I holding it hostage in the box?
Yes.
And so we haven't quite gone all in completely on allowing the magazine to be accessible outside the box, but we do have a special offer we can talk about later for your audience where you can get the magazine without the box. So there are special opportunities where we do allow the magazine to be accessible outside the box, but I believe in the very near future, you're going to be allowed to subscribe to the magazine outside of everything else, because the magazine is just getting a tremendous amount of response, and I don't want to hold it captive in a box. If it means that more entrepreneurs can get founder direct tactics, then I want to get it out there.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I would love to hear a little bit more about your podcast.
Yeah. So the startup story, the origin of it is my own personal failure, right? I mean, you mentioned earlier, after my 4th failure, I wanted to understand why I wasn't hitting these success metrics that other founders were. I just had a hard time believing it was me. And so I just started having conversations with founders. I've never been hesitant to just reach out to people cold and ask them for coffee. Like it's never been, I'm a connector by nature. So like that was never a hurdle for me. If I'm at some type of meetup or whatever, and I see someone across the room standing against the wall, I'm the one that's beelining it to him to say, hello, how are you? I love people. And so, and in the entrepreneurial circle, founders, and startup founders, like they want to help. So the moment I would reach out saying, you know what, I just shut down my 4th startup. I just need some guidance to understand what it is I'm doing wrong. Can we get coffee? I've never heard a no. Like in the beginning, I never heard a no. And so as I was having these conversations and I was sharing some of my learnings with friends as we'd go get drinks or whatever, they all said, James, you've got to like have a podcast. You got to record these conversations. People would love to hear this. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And here I am consuming a ton of podcasts because I was in Southern California at the time, and driving is everything. And you can go 5 miles and spend 45 minutes in a car. And so I was consuming podcasts voraciously. And I thought, man, like I should have a podcast. I should start a podcast. And again, a lot of things connected the dots, but that's where the Startup Story came to be. So the Startup Story is a weekly podcast where I bring on one highly successful entrepreneur. We unpack their entire entrepreneurial journey from childhood to where they are today, because a lot of people think entrepreneurship is an overnight thing. They think it's like a Field of Dreams model where you build it and they will come. And that's not true. And so I want to debunk it completely by saying, like, look, there are things within our entire life journey that kind of tease us up for these moments. If we just pause for a moment and look back, and we can see these things, right? I mean, your audience right now, there are probably some people considering the idea of like, man, I really want to start my own company, but I'm just not wired for it. And I'm willing to bet if you're even pondering that thought now, if you were to just stop for a second and look back from your childhood to now, I bet there are these moments, these breadcrumbs that are leading you to where you are today. You just have to stop and see that moment, and then you'll find that courage to continue on, knowing that, hey, there's things in life that have been leading you up to this very moment to make this decision. And that's really what the Startup Story is. And so within that, once we unpack the whole journey and we start talking about what their startup is, we get super tactical. We talk about capital challenges. You know, if I have a female founder on, we talk about some of the biases that they've had to overcome in leading this. And those stories are just outrageous. Like it boggles my mind that in 2021, we are still having discussions where a female founder is going to pitch venture capital with a male co-founder. And the question becomes, well, what are you going to do when you have a baby? Like, that's just mind blowing to me that these questions are still being teed up, but they are. And so I love exposing those stories so that people understand the reality of where we are, so we don't think we're too far progressed beyond what we really are. And so I do it every week. I love meeting with the founders. I love hearing their stories. But more than anything else, I love the audience feedback where they tell me that they resonate with some particular founder in some way, because that seems to be their life journey. And it's an encouraging podcast for many founders, but it's super tactical. And again, Grindology is a natural extension from the startup story because it is founder direct content, no journalists, straight from real business builders providing real proven tactics.
Right. That makes all the difference. I don't know how many times a day or a week that I'll go on LinkedIn or some other place. I'll have these people and they'll tell me, I'm going to help you make more money in your business. And I'm like, okay, how long have you been in business?
Yes.
I started businesses when I was 23 and I've been in business, like my kids are 23 and above. So it's been a while. And so I'm like, yeah, okay, talk to me later. Like, after you've been in business as long as I have, and then we can talk. Because if you just started this yesterday, you can't help me.
Yep. You know, I call them the self-proclaimed thought leaders, right? Like, it's, you know, in today's day and age with social media, everyone, and there are people like Gary Vaynerchuk that talk about it. Everyone has a platform, everyone has a message, and there is value to people's story. Mm-hmm. But here's the hang up that it just rubs me wrong sometimes, is that you may have a story and you may have a message that is valuable. But just because you took a Facebook ads course for $300 and you think you have it mastered does not give you the right to try and create a Facebook ad campaign and charge $500 for a Facebook ad campaign. Like don't rob people of their money. Like consult, serve, find ways to truly prove your value proposition and then charge for it. Like I am all for those who have made hundreds of millions of dollars running Facebook ad campaigns, charging a course for it. But if you just took one, come on now. But don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's when you are starting out, it's really easy to buy into the wrong courses by accident because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Yep.
And so how do we protect ourselves when we're starting out? For those listening in that are starting out from, picking the wrong consultant or coach or assistant or somebody to help you with your business because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. It really is research. And in today's day and age, it doesn't take a whole lot to find out the real information you need, right? I mean, if anyone is boasting about themselves being an expert in X, Y, and Z, do a Google search. Like, you will find the real experts out there, right? You're going to find the true, again, I don't want to use the term thought leaders, but proven founders for it. I myself personally, I am biased for those that have actually done it.
Yeah.
Like you may have executed a role well. Again, I'm going to use Facebook ads because that's super popular, right? You may have executed Facebook ad strategies for a large organization and done an amazing job, but it is very different when it is your money.
Oh, yes.
Than it is when you are just getting a paycheck, right? So I am very biased towards those who have gone all in and have built a business. Again, Jason McCann of formerly Veridesk, the standing desk company, the brand, really kind of the innovator in the market, the disruptor, the Kleenex, for what Kleenex is for tissue, Veridesk is for standing desks. He did not create Veridesk. He had product people do it. He did not handle all the marketing for Veridesk. He had people do that. But it was his wallet. It was his capital. It was his home equity line. It was his risk that he went all in. And even knowing that was the risk, to understand what he was thinking of when ad campaigns weren't performing what they were, when his hiring was not as aggressive as it needed to be, when his logistics challenges, when product from China wasn't coming in fast enough, like all the solutions that he had to solve for, it's that thinking that I want to tap into for all the challenges. Again, founders just think differently. And so I'm super biased for founders, like those who are business builders, but you're not going to find those people in your LinkedIn scrolling or your Facebook scrolling of, hey, hire me for a course, hire me to do this and that. Like, they're not going to be there. But again, I'm going to keep plugging, like, because of the startup story, because of my relationship with them, because of Grindology, you can get these people right here and there. Mm-hmm. You know, Chris Ronzio of Trainual, $100 million company. You've probably seen their ads all over the place, leveraging cast from The Office. They have an amazing creative ad campaign, and they're just killing it. He has provided how he got his first 1,000 customers in the magazine.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. I love it. I love doing what I'm doing. And I love providing these tactics for people like your audience.
Now, what about, so if people, those that sign up and get your magazine, what secrets do you have for actually getting them to apply it? Because I think that's the difference. Application is everything. You can read
everything.
But how do we apply this? How can somebody new starting out, maybe it is a struggling dad or mom who's juggling an extra job and really trying to get back into their own business or start their own business for the first time. What tips do you have? How do they apply this and stay resilient and consistent over time? Because results do not happen overnight.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Out of my 120 episodes, at the end of them all, I always ask for like one final word. Like if you could have coffee with one of my listeners and identify the personas, like what would you say to them? And I would without hesitation, I would probably say 80% of them say something to the factor of just start. Just start. You regardless of how big this mountain is in front of you, right, regardless of how much you want to accomplish, if you do not take that first step of putting your right foot in front of your left foot, you are going to go nowhere. And they say, just start. Now, the resilience comes in when you start seeing some little micro wins, right? I mean, again, I don't want to get like super meta here, but if you just try to, again, maybe your first win is to buy the domain that you want. Maybe your first win is to finally go to Shopify and sign up for an e-commerce store. Maybe your first win is to just add your first product. Like if you just write down 10 wins, I don't care how small they are, as you start seeing that checkbox next to those wins, it just becomes contagious. Like you just want to keep going to the next one. Let the wins be about accomplishing something, not a sale. Like don't worry about getting set up and established before you worry about the revenue. If your first win happens to be $20,000 a month in average recurring revenue, oh man, then you're going to have a lot of non-wins before you get to that. Like you've got to set yourself up with real expectations, and again, the media loves to talk about the overnight successes, the Airbnbs, right? Well, what people don't know is Airbnb filed bankruptcy twice before they ever became what we know of Airbnb. But those are the stories you don't hear about.
I can tell you, going back to my first gift store at 23, I ended up having 5. I opened one at 23 years old, $5,000 a month. I ended up serving over 200 kids through Job Training Partnership Act that came out of foster care and worked in my store. I had lots of ladies that had children, babies. So I had nannies in the back room because it was such a big store. And we had it all set up so they could come and have flex time. And they would come from the top stores in the mall, and they would work for me for like minimum wage. And
I love it.
And so I was learning as I was going.
Yeah.
And it was just this incredible journey. I made so many mistakes. I wrote about it in my book. I mean, the first year, now this was President Clinton had spoke at Glendale Community College, and I was in Montrose, California with my store. He came up to have lunch at Rocky Cola Cafe, and then he came into my store. But before him, Secret Service came in. And I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't do my sales tax right. I'm going to. And the next day, I hired a CPA. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm hiring a CPA. That was the scariest thing because I was so young and I didn't know, but I got started. And there was this, I guess I was so young, I didn't know to be scared.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, if I lose everything, it's okay. Cause I'm so young. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So that's something about the fear and letting go of the fear. What tips do you have for letting go of that fear of getting started?
I will say, if there's anything that failure does afford you, it is a broader perspective of what to be afraid of. The experiences that I led my family through in 08, 09, I can't think of anything since then that I've ever been afraid of, because to me, that was the absolute worst. And so there is a level of fearlessness now when I execute. And so I will say, don't be afraid of failing, because that truly can be a remarkable gift. Again, we lost everything. I had to move our family. 3 months later, my father-in-law passed away. Like, it was a horrible, horrible year. And so much in that season, so much regret about what I was going through. But now my wife and I look back on that season with such tremendous gratitude because of the perspective we have today. So the first thing, if you're not moving forward, if you're not executing because you're afraid, understand that if it's failure you're afraid of, that can be redeemed for an amazing gift, and the perspective that comes from that. The other thing too, when it comes to moving forward because of fear, or you're held in because of fear, I just had this conversation recently. Actually, oftentimes what we're afraid of really isn't even valid. Like, if you think of whatever the worst case scenario is, I was talking with someone who just got promoted in their job and they're miserable in their job. It's a whole new area of this massive conglomerate. And he's just very insecure in his current role. And he's afraid of being found out to be a fraud, if you will, like not being as great as he is in this role as he was in another role. And it was causing him to lose sleep and anxiety and all this stuff. And I just said, like, what in your mind, what's the worst thing that happens? Well, they let me go. Okay, great. Because of the industry you're in, I can think of 100 different startups that would hire you in a heartbeat because you have this book of connections within that sector. Really? Yes. So why is that so horrible? Oh, that's a great point. Again, whatever your fear is probably isn't all that valid. You just got to get perspective from someone else. And again, I'm not discrediting those that are fearful. I'm not trying to sit here and minimize what it is that you're hung up on. But oftentimes, if you were to ask Sheila, ask myself, we probably can think of a solution to that fairly quickly, because we're not sitting where you are in this myopic state. We can see things a little bit clearer, which, again, back to the previous point, run with people, surround yourself by people.
Yes. I mean, my peer group, soon as COVID happened, the next thing you know, they were PPE specialists.
Yeah. Yep.
I was like, really? I'd never seen you with a mask before.
Yeah.
But they went from one situation in business. They put that down if they had to, because it didn't align anymore. And they went and picked up the next business within a month or less, a week. And I was just amazed at how fast they were willing to work with the changes. And so I was just really impressed. I think about Tony Robbins. He had all his events shut down. So we were going to go to the UPW in San Jose, and he got shut down. Never has he ever been shut down. Now he has a platform, and I think he spent like $4 million and created this platform to do virtual events.
Yeah.
He's back to doing events, and they're incredible. Yeah. And bring in even more people, and you can bring your family in the living room. And so it's just another person be like, well, that's it. It's over. I do events. How can I continue? I'm out of business. Yep. So it's mindset and resilience.
Yep.
That's just incredible. Yes. So I would love to hear, we're coming to the end of our time, and I'd love to hear how people can connect, how they can get Grindology and get started.
So I'm on LinkedIn first and foremost. So just search for James McKinney. I accept all invitations because I love connecting with people. You never know how circles may cross. But for everyone watching, I want to get Grindology into your hands. And for the first 100 people, just text me at 214-214-4933. And the first 100 people, I will send you a Grindology issue absolutely free. Now, if you're not one of the first 100, I will still get you a Grindology issue in your hand for free. You're just going to have to pay for shipping. So again, first 100, text 214-214-4933. Again, 214-214-4933, and we will get you Grindology into your hands. Otherwise, everyone else can visit grindology.com and find out about everything we have going on.
All right. Thank you again, James.
Oh, Sheila, this has been an absolute joy talking with you. I am better for it, so thank you.
All right. And those listening in, stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today I would like to give a special thank you and shout out to our sponsor, that is Riverside.fm. Let's talk about Riverside.fm, the leading podcast and video creation platform that I use to record my podcast. Alongside me, professionals like Guy Raz from How I Built This, and companies such as Spotify and the New York Times use Riverside.fm to record their audio, video content remotely. I like Riverside.fm because I can record studio quality audio and up to 4,000 videos on their platform. If I'm interviewing a guest 1,000 miles away with the shakiest of internet connections, it still sounds like we're sitting in the same room. It is easy to use, as easy as Zoom, but gives much higher quality audio and video recordings. Other awesome features include options to record from your iPhone, a magic editor to easily edit with a series of simple clicks, and automatic transcriptions. So if you're looking for a hero platform for all your recording needs, from podcasts to webinars to other video content, you should be using Riverside.fm. Sign up today so you can focus on your content and leave the quality to Riverside.fm. It's the holidays, and I'm dealing with an overwhelming sense of grief that is secondary to the loss of my family members that occurred during the holiday season almost 2 years ago. I'm attempting to resume my family traditions with a smile on my face, but my heart is troubled and sad. I'm grateful for the numerous friends and my support network that I am blessed with. However, I'm hoping that you can offer some insight and suggestions to help me keep my healing heart in perpetual motion this time of year. Thank you. Sincerely, Blue Christmas. Dear Blue Christmas, I'm so sorry for your loss. Losing more than one family member during the holidays is very difficult. I can't imagine. And one of the things that has helped me get through holiday seasons, because I've lost quite a few family members myself, was to change my holiday celebrations, to celebrate my loved ones that have crossed over in a different way, gave me a new tradition. And that may help you as well. I'm not sure how you celebrate your holidays or how you did in the past, but save a place for them at the table, maybe have a ceremony for them and send them love, and then stop and pause for a moment before you plan your holidays this season and think about what, if they were living with you today, now, what would they want for you as your relative? What would they want to see for your happiest holiday this year? For myself, with my children, I think what I would want for my children is for them to continue to celebrate and live their best life every day, including on the holidays. And I would appreciate their memories and thoughts of me. So I think that may help. And just forming new traditions. Because whenever there is a life shift, whatever it is, divorce, or kids grow up and they have their own family units, they can't travel to see us, whatever it is, our holidays are going to shift over time. And grieving a loss of more than one loved one is the hardest, for sure. Yet these are things that are going to happen And so to have a new form of holiday will make a big difference for you. I hope this helps. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I have some news for you. Yes, you. I'm celebrating my 3rd year now on the station and will be expanding the show to a global network as well. You may now find the Sheila Mack Show on all major podcasting channels, and if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, all the episodes are now available for viewing there as well. And I'm asking you for a quick favor. If you like the show, please help support the spread of this reboot channel on YouTube as well. My goal is to help as many people as possible through our interesting times to rebuild, reinvent, and reboot your business and personal life. I also wanted to share a little bit more about how I got here, what I do now, and how designing a business career and life on your terms is more than possible at any age or stage in life. I am an enterprisingly forward-thinking consultant, show host, and best-selling author. But how did I get here? Well, I began my career as an entrepreneur and property investment strategist back when I was 23 years young, when I boldly quit my government job with NASA JPL to open my first of 5 large gift stores while also starting to invest in property. I got to work with some of the world's most loved companies, such as negotiations on leases with Warner Brothers and winning trips to London as the top-selling Crabtree and Evelyn provider in the U.S. for multiple years. My stores were built on heart as I gave back to the community I came from. So now, some of you know this and some of you don't know this, but as a young girl with parents who were not well enough to care for me, I was homeless at age 10, then in foster care, where it was really hard to get a job while in the system. I finally emancipated at the age of 15 to start college early. While running my stores, I worked with a government program. Back then, it was called Job Training Partnership Act, making my stores an open source training site where close to 200 at-risk youth started their careers. Yes, I began my career helping business leaders and working professionals to design a life they love where they can have success in their careers and get to the business of life. See, a funny thing happened along the way. When I first opened my gift store, it was kind of crazy because I was this young upstart. That's what a lot of the store owners called me. My first store was in Montrose, California, in this sweet little hometown shopping park with other stores and restaurants nearby. And so I was the young upstart that didn't know what she was doing. At least that's what everybody said. And I didn't really care what they said. At that age, you know, their opinion was like, I don't really care. So that was probably a really good thing because I stayed focused on what I needed to do. And I had negotiated to lease out a 5,000 square foot gift store that needed a lot of work, and I got free rent and for about 6 months, and I had to start making the rent, which was $5,000 a month, which was a lot of money back then, $1 a square foot. And so I had to learn and relearn. I finally did hire quite soon in the game. I did hire a marketing expert, branding expert, I guess back then. And that lady really helped me to figure things out when I first started. And when you first start a business, especially when you're young, it was like I had no idea what to do, but I needed to learn because my rent was going to start coming due every month. And over that time, I started having more success. I did crazy things like stayed open until almost midnight every night, along with the restaurants who were very close to my store, while everybody else closed shop at about 5 or 6 p.m. So I was making more money from the start, and I just really, my store was to help my kids, and the products I sold was whatever the community wanted. I sold lots of things to people in the entertainment industry. I worked with cruise ships. I worked with many different people in the community. And later on, the store owners actually came to me and asked me if I would consult them and help them. I actually started buying my other buildings because I didn't like the idea of paying rent for years and years and years and not building equity. So I did get my real estate license through that and invested and bought my other 4 store buildings. And lots of the other store owners worked with me, paid me to consult and help them do what I was doing. And I didn't really even know it was called consulting. I just knew how to figure it out, I guess. And so that's how I started my career. And now, I raised 6 children, all that, and now they're grown. And so I get to come to work every day and do what I naturally do best as an enterprising and forward-thinking business leader. Through my show, courses, and live events, I guide entrepreneurs and working professionals like you through the profitable steps of building a business, creation to expansion, marketing from planning to implementation, wealth preservation through strategic planning and, yes, real estate investing, and lifestyle design so that you can earn more while getting back to the business of living your best life. So I do invite you to tune in here to KCAA Radio, and also I would really appreciate it if you went to my YouTube channel, Sheila Mac Show, and gave a subscribe and a listen to some of your favorite shows. And I do have some other exciting things, including a free gift to thank you. So if you go to www.sheilamac.com, that's SHEILAMAC, SheilaMac.com, there you can get a free gift to get started on your reboot this year. And now back to the show.
Okay, thank you guys. Bye-bye.
All right, if you're just tuning in, this is NBC Sheila Mac Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. And we are also streaming to YouTube at Sheila Mac Show and all major podcasting channels. And we'll be visiting some other special shows. I have switched to all natural beauty. So if you'd like to learn more, go to SheilaMac.com and click on Natural Beauty to learn about Beauty Counter. And that is something I'm now repping, but I also am only using the Beauty Counter all natural products. It has made a huge difference in my complexion and is a wonderful way to just only have natural products on your body. You can also go to beautycounter.com/Sheila, SHEILA, Mac, MAC. But the easiest thing to do is just go to SheilaMac.com, SHEILAMAC.com, and then look for the Natural Beauty tab. You are tuning in to the Sheila Mac Show, where we answer real questions with real solutions to help you reboot your business and personal life. Now, I have reminded you about my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And the core of that book is lifestyle design. So it's going through chapters of different things that happen in everybody's life to one extent or another. We talk about starting over, rebooting, get on back on track after losing a loved one, a divorce, our kids grow up, we are parenting our parents, and more, relationships, ups and downs, renegotiating relationships, business, career. And it all, every time you have a life shift, you have the opportunity to redesign your life. And so the main focus is every chapter will help you reboot through where you are. You go to the chapter that speaks to you during this time in your life, and then you go to the main focus of the book, which is lifestyle design and getting back on track. But this time, the difference is you get to live life on your terms. All right, so to learn more, go to SHEILA'Mac.com. My name is spelt SHEILAMAC.com. And there I also have a free gift for you. Looking forward to seeing you there. And as always, I wish you life, love, laughter, and light. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today I have a couple of announcements. First, I would like to hear from you. That's right. I would love to hear from you. To be honest, I want to know what your breakthrough is, what your reboot is. How are you reinventing and rebooting your life? What shows would you like to hear more of? What information do you need to help you get back on track this year? And to do that, the best way to connect with me is actually through my new YouTube channel, and that is Sheila Mack Show on YouTube. And there you can see past recordings, and you can also see other information and shares that I have. And I would love for you to share in the comments there what you're needing more of and what you're rebooting this year and how we can help you get back on track. If you are just tuning in, this is NBC's Sheila Mack Show here on KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no listener behind. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I have a special free gift announcement for you. That's right. Get a free introduction to the Boots formula and meditation by joining our email list for business leaders, busy moms, and rock stars like you. To get your free gift, just go to www.sheilamac.com/free gift. That's right, sheilamac.com/free gift for your gift today.
Friends, I have a political message for you today. Are you ready to hear about politics? Probably not. So this season in the United States, if you are here, it is political season. So it's very interesting, and everybody's going to vote for somebody, hopefully. So vote your passion. But the most important thing that you can vote for is yourself and your family, your values, and your belief systems this year. So give yourself a vote for time for you, self-care time, time with your family and friends. Don't just spend your votes watching and listening to everybody else's opinion about what's going on or who you should vote for. You know your values, so vote for you. All right. Is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation. Grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible as well as on Amazon and Kindle and at www.sheilamac.com.